what does that really mean? How do we really apply that? And where do we really leverage that? Then your culture gets defined by, this is the way we do things around here. This is how we collaborate. You know,
and then this is the reason why we collaborate too. Like, yeah. Hey, Lauren, how are you?
Hi, Lynette. I hear you haven't been feeling so good. So sounds like you're back swinging though, right?
Yeah, I've been out for the count for almost a week, and normally I never get sick like that, and it has been a big doozy. I've been like my raspy voice here today. That's what you're going to get from me. But yeah, no, it's been a crazy 7 or 8 days, that's for sure. So, but feeling better today. So thanks for asking.
I'm glad you're feeling better. Yeah, but I'm looking forward to our conversation. You know, I know that just recently Google had its big Next conference where, you know, where people from around the world, frankly, come and get a sense for what's going on at Google. And one of the things that I understand, I've got the second hand because unfortunately I wasn't there this year, but I did get some insight that they're collecting some real data now around the advantage of their G Suite, their productivity and communication platform. And one of the things that they're touting, and they've got numbers to back it up, that by employing that platform, that people are saving some real time. They'll be able to use their time, the freeing up time, particularly around releasing email and other elements. But it's adding up to somewhere in there, if I understand correctly, 15 to 20% per person. That's a lot of time.
Yeah, per month, and sort of savings in terms of sort of all that administration stuff that comes with, you know, desktop apps and things like that.
Yes, the question I'm kind of wondering about, and for our audience, is that do you think that achieving that, you know, type of time back is automatically going to advance the culture of an organization? Do you think that that's a sufficient measure to say our culture's gone? And what the reaction was to that?
Yeah, I know. I you know, it's interesting because as I work with certain organizations, and I'm working with one right now where I'm sort of overseeing this sort of the cultural aspect of the implementation. It's been interesting because they have a real desire to become this sort of culture of collaboration. And, you know, in my heart of hearts, I really don't think that just implementing social tools into an organization is going to enable a real powerful culture of collaboration. Sure, it's going to allow people to work more efficiently, as you said, you know, whatever the number was, 20% efficiency in sort of their work on a monthly basis. But I struggle with how a company can just all of a sudden become this culture of collaboration just through social tools. I think that companies, in my personal opinion, have to be shown how to be collaborative and really sort of go even one step beyond that to what is the advantage of even really collaborating in a shared document anyway. And so that's sort of my opinion on that.
I think it's important, you know, you just got me thinking about it because I just joined an organization, again, that doesn't have the G Suite.
That doesn't have what, sorry?
It doesn't have the G Suite.
Oh, so yeah.
Back to seeing docs being exchanged by email, and there's no way of collaborating on a doc, and you know, I'm back to booking conference calls and it frankly is driving me crazy.
I know. I have the same situation with a client as well. It's like, oh God, I forgot to hit save, and I literally lost a whole presentation.
Yeah, and you know, so I think it's more than a chicken egg thing though. Like, I do think that if you have a culture of collaboration already, if people really seek to go and work together, and there's a manifesto around how that gets done, people, you know, are intentional about it, then I think when you apply a platform like the G Suite, it really helps, it accelerates, right? Because now you already have a mindset around going, well, I really want to get Lynette's involvement on this, so I'm going to share this doc, and then we're going to, you know, then now we're working on a thing, you know, together. but it starts with, I think, the fact that I want to get you involved. I know I need your thinking early upstream.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, however, let's say, for example, that we just decided that we wanted to implement these tools, and I didn't have any interest in getting you involved. Then, what good is that tool?
I agree. And that's kind of where my mindset is at, is if you're not already collaborating as an organization, if you don't have that mindset, or you haven't, sort of built the trust in the organization that collaborating with your peers is the right thing to do, then I just don't think that a social tool is just going to all of a sudden sprinkle sort of fairy dust all over that and make it happen. I think, in my opinion, you really need to create that, first of all, sort of vision or the why behind why you would want to be a collaborative organization in the first place, and give people something to really sort of attach themselves to. I also, and I also think that, leadership, you have to model those behaviors as well. I mean, you're not going to become this collaborative organization if your leadership isn't collaborating. And I think those leaders have to be, just by common sense, have to be collaborative leaders, but they also have to create opportunities for their teams and encourage their teams to really start collaborating together. And then you and I have always talked about sort of creating the conditions or nurturing those conditions.
Yeah.
And I think so on top of that, it's something that has to be continually nurtured, continually sought after, and almost in some sort of way rewarded when you see those behaviors happening. And that's really how I think you're going to become a culture of collaboration. And then if you've got those four things, piling on some social tools on top of that just sort of is, to me, the complete picture of what it takes to create that kind of environment.
I've been part of so many kind of conversations where executives sit around and they've got their cappuccino or Americano, and with well intentioned say we need to have a more collaborative, and then they go back into their fiefdoms, and there's this way that work's done and the way it's been historically done, where it's linear. And passing things on to each other, and it's almost like there's this veil of management bullshit that happens around an executive boardroom, and then when they leave, they go through those beads that you see in some of these old movies, and they walk into reality, which means we just keep doing things the way we've done kind of in the past. And it's like the reality hasn't sunk in, right? You talk about it conceptually, but then it fundamentally means you have to, for example, if you're into product, if you're producing a product, somebody was telling me, for example, that one of the great things that Intuit, I talked to a guy who was an executive at Intuit, and it may be the same, but he was a top-notch executive. He said they were absolutely driven by having sales and marketing way upstream before the product was even designed and engineered. Right? They had, so like on TurboTax or something like that, they had those, as they went from one product and they finally made TurboTax, invented Nemeton, by the way, that became TurboTax, which is this, what percentage of the market share. But they had sales and marketing people way up. And now that's collaboration.
Yeah.
And if you've got social tools like Docs, or you can do what we're doing here, where you can see each other and you've got visibility, that just accelerates what's already there. But if you don't think like that from the beginning, then and still so many organizations, production or engineers design it, production builds it, and then someday one day, oh geez, I guess we have to sell this damn thing.
Yeah.
And it's way down here, and and I think that you can apply that to any kind of manufacturing or service or government. Any industry moves information and products and services around.
So I think what I'm hearing you say, if I can sort of summarize it up, is it's sort of like what you're saying is bring that cross-functional team together early together to create and develop and market the product at the same time, and not have that sort of typical linear approach to it.
Yeah, and it's like saying to someone, when you say let's collaborate, or who's not going to say, well, of course, or argue that we shouldn't collaborate. But I literally think you have to start to look back from the organization and say, what does that really mean? How do we really apply that? And where do we really leverage that? Then your culture gets defined by, this is the way we do things around here. This is how we collaborate.
And then this is the reason why we collaborate too. Like, yeah. Like I think.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Anyway, I'm on my soapbox, but I think what happens I think what happens is that it ends up being a training program, right? So let's go teach people to collaborate. And you got the slide deck that, everybody does a great job, and you go on, everybody talks about collaboration. And then people go away, and then they have to stumble around and think, when I think there's real deep thinking around, this is where we're going to collaborate, and this is how we're going to do it. And you put that intentionality behind it, then you're really building a culture of collaboration.
Yeah, and I think there's so much like that you could unpack even just in our conversation, like the why behind like setting the vision for what a collaborative organization looks like. I think those are all really done well. That why is really done well when you talk about the transformative stories. So sure, you're collaborating on a document together, or you're collaborating on a project together, but why, what is the real transformation that's happening behind that collaboration? It's, it's better content, it's a better product, it's a better marketing strategy, because these ideas are coming from everywhere. But I also think too that, you could be sitting in a group and you're all collaborating, but there's only really 2 people out of the 6 that are collaborating. So I think that there's also got to be that opportunity where everybody gets to share ideas. And I think that's that respect and trust as well. And I think that's where it all sort of comes down to. It's a mindset of, being able to want to listen to other people's ideas and being open to other people's ideas, being, confident enough to put your idea forward in the first place. Also to feel confident enough to let go of your idea, because, we did learn this from Google, where, a small idea shared turns into a really fabulous idea because so many more people are working on it. So,
just to kind of maybe just kind of put this in context a little bit, and I'm old enough now that I'm starting to sound like, she's like my dad, but, I had a consulting company 30 years ago, and I flew down to San Francisco, went to Walnut Creek to buy a program that I was going to resell in Canada called Innovation, because everybody was talking about, being way more innovative. And I'm kind of chuckling a little bit when I'm hearing this, renewed kind of rallying around, let's all be more collaborative, more innovative. And, you really ask yourself, how much progress have we really made? What have we really done? Design thinking was so hot just a couple of years ago, and now it's just normal conversation. And I'm a fan of design thinking. The question is, what of the fabric of the institution? How has it really changed?
Yeah.
What's gone deep into the tissue? And so that people can point to how it's changed the nature of the way work's done and the customer experience that has resulted because of that. Like you say, better products, better services, better relationship between team members. And that's the core work that needs to be done, not to get chasing after these glamorous tools.
That's right.
Hoping that somehow it magically does something to your organization. I wish it did. It won't do it by itself.
No.
And I'm really glad you raised the question, because you poked at me in this question. I think it's really important.
Yeah.
They need to go hand in glove. The essence and the core of it, along with the tools that it can accelerate.
Yeah.
Don't expect the shiny new tool to make the difference as much as I wish it was a silver bullet. It's not that big.
No silver bullets. No silver bullets. We've known that for years.
Yeah.
All right, Lauren, you want to take us home on maybe sort of a couple of key takeaways?
Yeah, I guess what I'd really encourage people to do around, like, kind of leading off your advice around, ask yourself, and why you really, really need to collaborate. What does that really mean? Why, and where, and then where would collaboration make a huge difference? And then execute on that. Design what that looks like. Be clear to people around what the expectation around working together and collaborating really means and what it looks like. And you have to give a picture and put context to it, literally flow it out, and then apply your tools to accelerate it. Then make that happen. And then I think you're rocking. And I think then you can tell stories around it and say, this is what it means to collaborate. This is how we do it. This is what our culture of collaboration means in our organization. So I think if you put that together, which is hard work, it's easy to, just roll off your tongue. Then I think, you have, and people like you that challenge just people who drive new technology to not just glom onto the technology itself for the sake of the technology. That's important. So keep being that fierce fighter out there for putting it all together as a system.
Exactly.
That's what makes it work.
All right, Lorne. Well, thanks very much. Always nice talking to you.
Try scotch, by the way. That'll help with that voice.
Okay, thanks.
3 o'clock in the afternoon, no problem. You're ready to go.
Sounds good. Thanks, Lorne. Bye.